Call to order the August 27th, 2020 regular meeting of the Piqua City Schools Board of Education. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is up here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Hiddle, if you would please do the roll call.
Mr. Height.
Here.
Mr. Frazier. Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mrs. McMacken.
Here.
Mr. Bostic.
Here. Okay, we need to have a motion for approval of the July 22nd, 2020 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Okay, passes. Now we need a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any not, please same sign. Okay, it is approved. Okay, hearing of the public, agenda items. C, special recognition. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, thank you. So I received a letter from the Government Finance Officers Association, and I'll read a section of that. It says, "Dear Mr. Thompson, we are pleased to notify you that your comprehensive annual financial report, known as the CAFR, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019, qualifies for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. We hope that your example will encourage other government officials in their efforts to achieve and maintain an appropriate standard of excellence in financial reporting." So just congratulations to Mr. Hiddle and his team. He'll I know, give credit to the people on his team as well, but they bring a lot of integrity to our financial accounting purposes and all those things in the district, and I'm real proud of them for receiving this recognition. So I wanted to make sure that we brought that to everybody's attention.
Good job, Jeremy.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay. D, the treasurer's report. Mr. Hill.
Well, and that was on my list, is like I usually say, is I can't do all this by myself, of course. I have the best staff you could ask for, and they help get things done. I mean, I could be tied up out here with this construction project, and we keep the ship on straight, and we're still getting things done. So it's can't do it without my staff, and then of course all of the district staff for having to follow all the rules and hear from me often about why and all that kind of stuff, and explain why the auditors ask and do all those fun things. So I can't do it without the entire community here at Piqua. It's been great. So just happy to keep doing the books and getting those awards. The other thing that I had on my treasurer's report is due to the COVID-19 situation in our finances and revenue, and I've sent out emails, but I wanted to just review this. Two different things. One is, how does our property tax look? And so when we have an economic downturn like this, you expect to see that property homeowners can't pay their tax bill for their property taxes unless they're in escrow, those kind of things. So the good news is, for the second half of 2019, our delinquencies were actually down. They weren't up. So we may see that as we get into the first quarter of 2020, or the first half of 2020, that may change. But in this scenario, the delinquencies were down and our property tax revenue collections stayed flat. So we didn't see a decrease, we didn't see an increase, but they pretty much stayed exactly where they were last year. So that was the good news. And the other good news that comes along with this is that we saw a reduction of over $208,000 as a community in taxes due to passing the last levy that we ran, where we reduced everybody's taxes by $1 million. So that first half of the money was $208,263.20, and so that went back out to taxpayers. We did not collect this go around. So a year's worth of tax collection, we should see about $400,000 in savings annually from that. So that was good news that we were able to give some money back to taxpayers for once. When we look at the income tax, I didn't want to be the genie, but apparently I came up with the right number for what the reduction in income tax revenue was going to be, because when we put the report together, it landed on exactly 25% of revenue for the second quarter. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that we lost $711,104, and we're on target to collect $6,403,733. We'll keep checking that to see if it holds up. We could see that it gets worse the next quarter, or if it keeps coming in about where we expect it to be, then I have a good idea of how the budget's going to play out. So it's good news and bad news. Good news is I got the number right. The bad news is it's still over $700,000 that we saw less in income tax revenue. So those are the two things that I wanted to let you know about.
Okay.
Some good news, some bad news.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hiddle. Okay, treasurer's agenda. Mr. Hiddle?
Sure. Any questions about the July monthly reports? The next thing on there is annually we approve the tuition amount for those who would like to attend Piqua City schools that live outside the area. We have open enrollment, so this typically doesn't happen, but we do this annually anyways, and it's $5,905.24 as established by the state of Ohio NODE. And the only other item I have on here is the approval of the new fund 510. We've approved 507 and 508 for COVID, and 510 is also a COVID account, and it's for a whole other set of funding that's coming our way. So we have received some 507 money, and we will receive some 510 money, and then the 508 money is from the governor. So that money has not been budgeted or handed out at this point. Those details are still to come. And then we have to use the money, specific COVID money early, and as early as we can. We have to get it spent out by December 30th. So that's the first task, and then we'll work on the 508 money. So the 510 has to go first. So this 510 account, we got to get set up so we can get through that. And what we're going to spend that money on is we have people who are going to be getting supplementals to do all the grading online after school. They'll be working to do all the online grading for those students who have work. We're also going to have custodians working 5 hours, not custodians, I should say bus drivers, food service, anybody who has open hours. We're going to have 5 hours a day per building, 5 hours a day per building, so that we have extra cleaning going on all the high touch spots in the buildings. So we'll be paying for that out of that account, as well as all the cleaning supplies that we've had to buy for the district, which will be over $100,000 by the time we're finished with that. So that's $168,000 in total, and that's what that money is going towards.
So that's new staff that you're adding to your custodial staff, or you're having them work extra?
So we're having current staff who's in place here pick up those extra hours. It's better to do it that way from the perspective of we don't add another body to the FTEs, but also you look at we have to pay a surcharge to SERS for every one of our employees that do not reach a certain threshold. We had to literally pay SERS $84,000 this year as a surcharge payment, just because we had all these people who didn't work enough time in SERS for retirement purposes. So it's sort of one of those things where we're forced to, like, have our ticket takers, for example, they have to be part of SERS. So then we end up having to pay an SERS surcharge against all of those people who help us. So what we thought was, let's use the people we have here, give them the hours. That will also help offset those surcharge expenses if we can keep them more busy. So that's what we decided to do with that. Any questions? Okay.
On this vote, Mr. Hiddle, do you need voice, or do we need to roll call?
We usually do the roll call for this one, for the monthly financial reports.
Okay. Any questions or anything? Okay, may we have a motion?
So
for
moved.
the-
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, measure passes. Okay, Superintendent's Report, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Mr. Lyons actually has a guest this evening, so I'm going to let him go first so we don't hold him up and make him be here longer. So Mr. Lyons, if you would go ahead and talk about our equity
Absolutely,
training.
absolutely. We've talked a little bit in meetings about what we're doing with our diversity, equity, inclusivity within the district. And tonight, it's my pleasure to put a face with a name. I've mentioned Michael Carter to all of you in the past, and talking a little bit about the work that we're doing. We met, I think, 2 times with our administrative team, met with our diversity, equity, inclusivity team with Michael on all those occasions. And then Dwayne and I met with him once at one point, and we worked out what Michael felt like would be a great curriculum for our administrative team, and that would then work into the buildings for our students and staff. So just continuing to have me talk about it isn't as powerful as meeting the man behind the name and put a face with it. So Michael, if you'd like to come on up. Michael is the senior advisor to the president at Sinclair College. He's also the chief diversity officer at Sinclair. And I'm fortunate enough to call him one of my very best friends in the world. We were able to work together for many years, and my mentor when I decided to go into, one of my mentors as I decided to go into administration. So he may want to hide from that, but it's real. It's real. So anyway, I wanted to have Michael come up and talk a little bit about our too.
Thanks, Tony, and it's an honor to be in front of you. Just take a couple minutes. This is hard work. It's difficult. It's some would say controversial, but it is necessary for our students. What I tend to say, I think it's really important to talk about equity. When people say diversity and things like that, it's how do you define that? But if we talk about equity, equity is simply providing students what they need, and that's whoever the students are. I think that the conversation has changed in the last few months with the murder of George Floyd, but we've got some work to do, and I think what I try to focus on with all the folks that I talk to is everybody's in a different place on this continuum as far as their understanding and their interest and what this is. But it's important if we are going to be a civil and outstanding society. This is very important work. You've got students who come from a lot of different backgrounds and come from a lot of different places. So it's important to be supportive of them. This isn't something, I think we kind of live in an age where this can be divisive. It shouldn't be. This is what America should be about, and we should support all of our students. And we want to work with this great staff as far as just having these honest and open conversations about what that is. I don't think this is something that has to be combative. This is something that's important, and we want to support you in any way we can. Elementary, whether it's elementary, preschool, middle school, high school, this is important work. Your students will tell you. So this isn't what Michael Carter will say. I think one of the powerful things that you guys have done is listening to former students and letting them share their experiences. It's a powerful tool. We encourage districts to do that, and it really helps us focus on what we need to do. We do that at Sinclair. We're figuring out some of the things we need to do. And if we improve our work with students who need the most support, we'll help all of our students. And I think that is the goal. So you have engaged in some courageous, important work. I'm glad to be a part of it, and I look forward to working. We built kind of a curriculum for the year, and I'm looking forward to working with the district in that. So thank you.
I would like to add that Michael's doing work with several K-12 schools outside of his work at the college. So we're blessed to be able to have him as our leader in this and our partner. So it's been
In
great.
closing, one of the districts, Northmont, we're in our 3rd year working with Northmont. We work with Dayton Early College Academy, Dayton Public Schools, Trotwood, and some others. So this is important work. It's not, if we don't talk about and deal with it, it's not going away, because people are talking about it. The thing about race, people say we don't talk about race and we don't talk about race, social justice. We do. We just talk about it in our echo chambers. And the goal is to talk about it civilly. We've kind of lost that ability in America. I mean, we see that today, that if you are this political party or that political party, you're a bad person. And we've got to get away from that. We just have different experiences and disagreements on different policies. What you believe and what your affiliation is does not make you a bad person. It makes us have some different ideas about how to go about things. So I think that is really important. This should be a civil conversation. We want to make that, and it's been great. Staff has been wonderful, and so we're really encouraged and excited. And thank you, Superintendent and Tony, and the staff that's here. And thank you for your support for this.
Questions for
No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carter. We appreciate it
All right. Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So moving on to just the back to school review and update. Just quickly, we will be updating the opening plan. The governor, since our original plan, had put out specifics on face masks, and we made some minor tweaks to that. We're going to be providing face mask breaks throughout the day. Teachers and principals will be working on that concept. We will not be requiring face masks at recess as a requirement, and we will not be requiring it when PE goes outside. So as a result of what the governor had put out, we were able to make those adjustments in the plan, so you'll approve those plans as well. The remote learning that we are working on for the students, they did have a choice again to be in person or they could be remote learners. The schools have been holding multiple parent meetings all throughout the day and in the evening hours. Parents are coming in, they're getting all their paperwork filled out and signed, they're getting their laptops, they're being shown how to log on and how to get the kind of support that they need, tech support and so on, while their students are at home. They're given some more direction in terms of what this really looks like. We want to make sure that before they really finally commit and log on that first time to the remote learning, they really understand what it is, so that they don't, feel like they wish they wouldn't have made that decision or whatever. So we're really trying to give every opportunity that we can to help them make those decisions. So that's been happening this last week, and it'll go into next week as well. Just a reminder to those parents that they can get our food service provided to them still, and that information has been going out from our food service director. We will be offering tech support. We have those numbers that have gone out, and those students that are in remote learning can also still participate in extracurricular activities. They're still very much our students. We want to give them those opportunities if they need those, so we're affording them those. Tonight, you'll also approve our remote learning plan. That plan was required by the state if we were ever to just close the schools and go fully remote. Again, our hope would be not to do that, but if we had to do that, the state wanted schools to think ahead and have plans ready. What happened last March was literally overnight we shut the doors and everybody across the state had to figure out, what does it look like to grade that work? What does it look like to provide online instruction and to support students and make sure they have the things that they need to be able to do the curriculum? So this plan all had to be forethought. It had to be put together beforehand. It had to be approved by the board, and then we'll post that. And then it actually gets posted on the Ohio Department of Education site so that parents and community members can see what the overall plan is. So you'll be doing that tonight. We do have staff training beginning on Monday. We'll be going over all the things that you've heard us talk about in terms of how we're going to be cleaning and taking care of our students and monitoring that progress. We'll be doing that on the 31st and on the 1st. Principals will be working with their staff on the 2nd then on specifics for their building. And then on the 3rd, our staff has a day to work on just kind of absorbing all that stuff that we're going to do through the training. They can work with their teams and grade levels to try to pull that together and how they're going to implement all that work. And then that following week on the 8th is our first day. A couple of big projects. We're just about ready to wrap up the construction work that's happening here at the high school. It was pretty much a monumental project, and for Mr. Messick and his staff, they've really been very cooperative and have sacrificed time and space and a lot of things that they probably take for granted in terms of just having their own office space. So we really appreciate that, and it is going to literally go up to the last minute, and we'll probably have a few minor things to do, but the space is really much more designed for today's student. It's much more capable of handling the needs that we have right now that were not thought of 40 years ago when this building was put in place. A perfect example is this building was built way before technology, and it never had the intention of having technology in it. So morphing this building over time to make sure that the appropriate technology and current things that students need in place for the learning has been adjusted for that. So this building is a great building. It has a lot of good use for it, and we're just really updating it, making it more efficient for our students and a better place to learn. One other project that we did, and I'll just touch on it because I know Mr. Loudenbach's going to talk about it in his report, is we had some safety issues out on 36 coming into Spring Creek. We talked a little bit about it at our emergency meeting, but getting cars off of 36 and into the lot, we didn't have that much space, so sometimes cars ended up in the middle of 36 in the turn lane, lots of trucks going by at full speed, and it just was not a safe situation. So looking at that carefully, having some engineers look at it, we were able to add basically a road that went around the building, which gives a lot more space for cars to line up and drop off and pick up their students. So we believe we should be able to get those students off of 36 now. So that road's already been put into place, thanks to your support for that. So I'll let Ross show some pictures of that, and you can kind of see what that looks like. That's all I had. I do have all the principals here this evening. So you are welcome to ask them of any questions if you'd like. They are always eager to share some of the work that they're doing. Does anybody here have anything they would like to share or that before we have Ross come up and talk? Nope. Any questions from the board members to the principals? Nope. All right. Loudenbach, would you like to come up? We always feature a building each month, and this month we start off with Spring Creek. So Mr. Loudenbach will come up and give us an update on some of the things happening there.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Excuse me. Yeah, tonight, Mr. Thompson alluded to most of the things that I was going to touch on. So with that being said, we can take some picture or look at these pictures. Thank you for approving this and letting this happen, Jeremy, Mr. Thompson, the team here. This was a very important project in the making that, as Mr. Thompson alluded to, is going to alleviate a lot of anxiety when it comes to safety. Yeah, oftentimes, especially during dismissal, there's an influx of cars that are going to come in. Some days we don't know how many, and sometimes those cars can get backed up on 36, which again causes that anxiety of something catastrophic happening. So this really allows us to eliminate that. So again, thank you for allowing that to happen. We can check out some pictures here. As you can see, it's going to be the same entry on the east side of the building. Cars can drive around all the way around. So I think that's going to allow us to get all the cars off the road at one single time. And they'll exit through the bus lot. So very excited about that. As you can see, there's going to be a drop off there where students will maintain their safety on the sidewalk, go in the building. So again, very, very excited about that. Mr. Thompson also alluded to the remote learning. We were able to have that meeting this Monday, get families in, talk about what that's going to be like. Thank you, Teresa and Eric, to your teams for getting that prepped and getting that done. Just being able to get that information out there is very important. We had great turnouts. We'll do the same thing for our Indian Days coming up next week. Get those families in the building, get that information to them. Meet with our teams, our buildings next week during our PD days, and roll that out and probably have 1,000 questions to answer. So it'll be good. You guys have any questions for me?
I think one of the things about the additional path around the building too is important. It doesn't interrupt any of our transportation services, like busing or things like that. That's all still going to be able to maintain status quo, so that's good too.
Yeah, something else that we're planning for is the remote learners to come pick up lunch as well. So now with there being 70-ish cars that way, coming at 10 o'clock, we'll be able to utilize that space instead of trying to have a bunch of staff out there redirecting traffic. And so it's going to
We actually
Steve.
had times when the buses couldn't get into the lot because traffic will be backed up so far that they were back into the area where the buses were supposed to turn in. So that, of course, delayed bus routes. So we anticipate that this will fix that problem as well.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loudback.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to say, and I know the board members, we have been talking this summer at meetings and sometimes occasionally communicate. Really want to thank all of you, and please thank your staffs. Because I know I kind of spent most of the summer with Jeremy and Dwayne on the building committee out here every Thursday. And it was crazy. I mean, it's coming from all directions. I can imagine what it's like for you. But we're very blessed to have all of you and your staff. So from all of us, thank all of you. Most assuredly, please do that. Thank you, guys.
So I'd like to recommend the board approval of the attached classified staff handbook for the 2021 school year. Our certified staff have the negotiated agreement, so this just helps outline some of the procedures for classified. Recommend board approval of the updated opening plan for the 2021 school year. Again, I mentioned that we updated the face masks and when those are appropriate or not appropriate. Recommend board approval of the attached Piqua City Schools remote learning plan that we talked about. Recommend board approval of the attached district process and plan for the identification and services for children who are gifted. They change the testing that qualifies students for gifted from time to time, so we have to update that list. So we removed tests that no longer allow a kid to qualify for gifted, and we add the tests that they have allowed us to use. Recommend board approval of the attached list of donations and grants for the Piqua City School District. We did have some more donations in the name of Darby Wright that came through. Key Club concessions were donated to PHS. The class of 2020 donated some money that they had for some benches that will be used in front of the high school. That's another exciting project that Mr. Mesick has envisioned, and you'll see that come to light pretty soon. And then Coca-Cola to the district and Piqua Community Foundation to the Spring Creek Art Department. And finally, recommend board approval of the established bus routes for the bus stops in 2021 school year as submitted. So those are all completed and ready to go. And we'll be ready to implement those on the 8th. Any questions? All right, so go ahead and.
Okay, well, need to entertain motion for the approval of these items.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Well, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Signify by same sign. Okay. Passes. Okay, personnel agenda. I imagine that's Mr. Lyons.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to talk a little bit about the process, the selection process, hiring process. At this point, we can see a significant cost savings from positions through attrition, particularly. Each year it has not necessarily to do with COVID. We examine every position just to make sure that we're replacing it appropriately. If numbers don't support it, or the appropriate number of students that are signing up for that program over and over, things like that. But we're evaluating each one of those positions. So through attrition, we have 4 teaching positions that are not being replaced, 1 administrative position that had been reduced from last year, and 1 classified position. So I think it's important to realize that the principals do a great job working with us to make sure that they tell us exactly what their needs are. We examine those, and not just putting positions out there that aren't appropriate. So that resulted in several $100,000 in savings, or a few $100,000 in savings. So before I jump into the new staff, I wanted to point that out as well. So we did hire 9 new teachers, Piqua City School District teachers. We got a chance to meet with them for the first 3 days of this week, which is always great to have them in and do lots of training that's challenging. We have Andrew Gruey at PCIS teaching math. Abby Jacobs will be teaching Spanish at the high school. Molly Magato, 6th grade ELA. McKenna Geisey at 8th grade math, right? Logan Shemp, she'll be a long-term sub for us. She'll be here the whole year. Haley Haas will be teaching choral music, both at the junior high and the high school. Liza Plattfoot will be teaching French. Maggie Bergman, ELA at the junior high. Brady Hill will be at Washington. It's important to point out a couple things. First, normally you get to meet them all tonight, and just in the interest of space and safety, we decided to keep them home. We'll get a chance to meet them all at some point. But two additional things there. We were able to hire one of our own, a Piqua grad this year again, which is always great to do. And then one of my favorite things was that at the end of the training, two of the young people came up and said how great their feeling has been. People reaching out to them, and they just can't wait to start because of how great it feels. But one of those, she just couldn't stop talking about it. She was from Troy. And I won't say the name, but her parents work there too. And she just couldn't stop talking about how great it seemed to be, and she was excited to get started. I joke because it's Troy Week, but so great group of young people coming in to start their careers. 8 of the 9 have no experience this year, so one is going into year 3. So they get a chance to start and just jump in and mold themselves in their career and have fun with those kids. So there's a lot of excitement there amidst some challenging times. So we're excited to have them. They're not all on the agenda, but I did want to point out those things as you approve the agenda. Lots of other things on there tonight. So if you have questions, I'm willing to address those.
Imagine how they'll talk about their early years in teaching.
Yeah.
Well, I told them my point at the end of the whole thing, because they go through a lot of challenging trainings. And I said, what you hear publicly and what you hear from even people that are your friends is, can't believe you want to be an educator. This is a terrible time to be an educator. And I told them, this is the best time to be an educator, because our kids need you more than ever right now. More than they've ever needed you, they need you now. So you're going to see a lot of energy from those folks coming in, and from the rest of our staff. Our staff as a whole is excited to get back and get rolling. I see the principals nodding their heads. They're ready. So thank you.
Okay. Personnel agenda vote. And Mr. Hiddle, we can roll call this, correct? Okay. Okay.
Motion. Need a motion.
Yeah, I know. Okay, motion.
So moved.
Okay, second. I second. So, okay, Mr. Hiddle?
Mr. Height,
Aye.
Mr. Ford, Mr. Frazier, Mrs. McMacken, Mr. Bostic.
Aye. Okay, old business,
Just recommend the approval of the second read and the final approval of the board policy 2266. This is the Title IX policy that we reviewed, very lengthy new
Mhm.
changes. I think it was over 60 pages, but we highlighted those changes the last time, so this will be the final approval for that.
so we do need a vote, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so do we have a motion
So
for the,
moved.
okay, second?
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, passes. New business, hearing of the public non-agenda items. I have got nothing on that. Mr. Lyons, nothing? Okay. Well, at this time, we are going to be going into executive session for the purpose of discussion regarding real estate transaction and or contract, consideration of purchase or sale of property as permitted under Ohio Revised Code 121.22. So we are not anticipating any action tonight. So go ahead and get into executive session, okay? So everybody is,
So moved.
okay?
Second.
Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Well, we will get ready to get into executive.